It's another ET exclusive.
On April 9th and 10th, Berlin became the home of every Michael Jackson fan on the planet. Thousands of fans flew in from all over the world to be part of something truly special, the global fan celebration and world premiere of Michael, the brand new biopic starring Jafar Jackson. And it did not disappoint. The Jackson family showed up together on that red carpet. Jafar got a standing ovation that had people crying in their seats. And the fan energy inside that venue was something nobody had ever seen before. But it wasn't all perfect. Behind the celebrations, fans were getting frustrated. Influencers were getting VIP treatment, while real fans who traveled across the world were left standing in the cold. In the next 10 minutes, I'm taking you through everything that happened in Berlin. The emotional moments, the shocking drama, and the big debate that is still going on right now. It all started a day before the official launch. Some fans, too excited to wait, made their way to the Uber Eats Music Hall in Berlin. The venue was still being set up, crews were still working, but that didn't stop the curious ones from showing up early. And what they noticed when they got there was something nobody was really talking about. A queue, but not a queue of fans. This was a carefully selected group of influencers, big creators, people with 30,000 or more followers across platforms.
D'accéder au tapis rouge, de faire des belles photos comme ça avec le beau logo Michael derrière moi. C'est vraiment superbe. Allez, on est parti.
Handpicked by the organizers, all expenses paid and later treated to a private dinner that regular fans knew nothing about. These weren't the familiar faces from the Michael Jackson fan community either. These were outside voices brought in specifically because of their reach. And from the very beginning, that created a divide that would follow the entire two-day event. But that was just day zero, because when the actual premiere arrived, things got even more intense. When the premiere day finally arrived, the red carpet was something else. The venue was transformed into a full-on Michael Jackson experience. A long, double-sided step and repeat lined with images of Jafar Jackson, a moonwalking zone, smoke machines, a rotating vinyl installation, and at the very end of it all, a beautifully designed main stage that tied everything together. It looked incredible. But while the setup was stunning, the experience wasn't equal for everyone.
Ich war noch nie so aufgeregt vor einem Event, weil das komplett meine Kindheit ist. Das ist so der Grund, warum ich angefangen habe zu tanzen, der Grund, warum ich angefangen habe, auch an mich zu glauben.
Fans had been queuing for hours in the cold, some since early morning, just to get a taste of the atmosphere. Depending on how lucky you were, you might have walked away with a tote bag, a commemorative t-shirt, and some drink vouchers, or you might have walked away with nothing. Meanwhile, those same influencers from the night before, they had direct access, moving freely along the carpet, filming everything, taking up space. Regular fans told us it became genuinely frustrating. Hard to move, hard to film, hard to just enjoy the moment they had waited so long for. Rich and Tone Talawega, the legendary choreographers behind some of Michael's most iconic moves, took over the main stage and led a dance class that brought the energy up.
Michael was everywhere. His spirit is all through this building on the red carpet.
But the two-tier system was already clear, and it was only going to become more obvious as the night went on. Now here's where things got truly emotional, because when the Jackson family walked that red carpet, the whole energy shifted. Jermaine, Marlon, Jackie, and Michael's own sons, Prince and Biggie Jackson, all of them showing up together in full support of Jafar. Think about what that moment meant. This wasn't just a movie premiere. This was a family publicly saying, "We trust this film. We trust this person to carry our legacy." And that person is one of their own.
Sometimes I'm thinking I'm watching Michael up there. And I forgot. Oh.
Jafar Jackson, son of Jermaine, stepping into the shoes of the greatest entertainer who ever lived, with his entire family watching from the front row. That's pressure most of us can't even imagine. And then there was John Branca, co-executor of the Michael Jackson estate, spotted on the carpet taking a photo with Miles Teller, who actually plays Branca himself in the film. That detail alone tells you how deeply personal this project is for everyone involved.
He became Michael in the film. Sometimes when I was watching a movie, I realized this is not my brother, this is Jafar.
These aren't just Hollywood names showing up for a photo opportunity. These are the real people, the real family, the ones who actually lived this story. And when the doors finally opened and the screening began, the room was loaded with that kind of energy, the kind you can feel. And what happened when the credits rolled? Nobody was ready for it. The lights went down, the room went quiet, and for the next couple of hours, everyone inside that cinema, fans, family, press, and cast, watched the story of Michael Jackson come to life on the big screen. And when it was over, the room erupted. Jafar Jackson walked back out onto the main stage inside the cinema, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation. Not a polite, obligatory one, A real one, the kind that sends chills down your spine. For a young man who has spent years preparing for this role, carrying the weight of his family's name and stepping into the shadow of arguably the most famous human being who ever lived, that moment must have meant everything.
But there's very few memories that I have that I cherish truly, and all of them were when I was very young. One of my favorites is when I first saw him on stage performing in New York for the first time, which was the best experience for me.
Early reactions from those inside the screening were overwhelmingly positive. People were calling it incredible, emotional, powerful. But then, and this is where it gets interesting, one fan said something that stopped a lot of people in their tracks. Quote, "It feels more like a musical than a biopic." Now that's a fascinating thing to say.
We're looking in the mirror right before going on stage. I had the full hair, makeup, and wardrobe, and I had a couple moments to myself just saying like, wow, I'm really here. There's no going back.
Because if that's true, it changes everything about how this film will be received when it drops for the general public. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Nobody has the full answer yet, but that one comment planted a seed of doubt that spread fast. And the debate was only just beginning. Day 2 kicked off at 10 in the morning and the energy was still high. The first panel of the day was called Becoming Michael, a deep dive into the journey of bringing the King of Pop to life on screen. Choreographers Rich and Tone Talawega were there, alongside producer Graham King, breaking down what it actually took to recreate one of the most iconic figures in human history.
The challenge of taking on someone like Michael Jackson, it sounded fun, but then the more real it got, the more pressure I felt.
Then came the second panel, the one everyone was really waiting for. Jafar Jackson himself, sitting alongside director Antoine Fuqua and actor Giuliano Cruvaldi, talking openly about the creative process behind the film, what inspired them, what challenged them, what it felt like to step into this world. It should have been a full room, but it wasn't. A surprising number of seats were empty, and that raised some eyebrows. Whether fans simply didn't show up or whether the organizers just didn't plan well enough, there was no RSVP system, no way to release unused tickets to people waiting outside. Either way, it was a missed opportunity, a moment that deserved a packed room, sitting half empty, but the night more than made up for it. From 7:30 to midnight, the celebration shifted gears completely with Get on the Dance Floor, a full-blown Michael Jackson party. Rich and Tone took the stage one last time, leading a massive dance class that had everyone moving. Indoor fireworks lit up the room. The energy was electric. But even here, the two-tier system showed its face again. Influencers had their own dedicated section. Drinks fully covered, no queuing, no waiting. Regular fans? They lined up at the bar and paid out of their own pockets. And that contrast, it didn't go unnoticed. Here's the thing about the Berlin celebration that nobody is really talking about loudly enough. Underneath all the glamour, the red carpet, the standing ovation, and the fireworks, there was a quiet frustration building among the very people this event was supposed to celebrate. The real fans. The ones who have been there for decades. The ones who know every lyric, every move, every era. They showed up in the cold. They queued for hours. They paid their own way. And yet, throughout the entire 2 days, they consistently came second.
Unbedingt im Kino schauen. Also das ist einer der besten Filme des jetzt noch recht kurzen Jahres, aber einer der besten Filme.
Influencers moved freely while fans were blocked. Influencers got private dinners while fans got vouchers, if they were lucky. Influencers had free drinks while fans stood in line at the bar. And these weren't small details, they added up. Then there was the DJ. Now, if you're throwing a Michael Jackson fan party, you'd think the playlist would write itself. The Jackson 5. The Jacksons, solo Michael. That's years worth of music right there. More than enough to fill an entire night. But the DJ went outside of that catalog. And for the purists in the room, the ones who flew across the world specifically to celebrate Michael's music, that was a step too far. It might sound like a small thing.
Oh my God, what does Michael Jackson mean to me? Oh my God.
But to a real fan, it's not small at all. It's a signal. A signal that maybe, just maybe, this event was designed more for content creation than for genuine fan appreciation. And that tension between the business side of this film and the passionate community that has kept Michael's legacy alive for decades is something that isn't going away anytime soon. In the end, Berlin was historic. There's no question about that. A stunning red carpet, an emotional family reunion, a standing ovation that moved people to tears, and a film that by all early accounts is something genuinely special. Jafar Jackson walked into that premiere carrying the weight of an entire legacy on his shoulders, and by the time those credits rolled, it sounds like he delivered. But the full picture is more complicated than the highlight reel. The two-tier system that ran through all 2 days, separating influencers from real fans at almost every turn, left a bitter taste for many of the people who matter most to this story. The organizational hiccups, the empty seats, the DJ playing the wrong music at a Michael Jackson party. These aren't deal breakers, but they are worth talking about. And then there's that one comment that keeps echoing. It feels more like a musical than a biopic. In a few weeks, when the film releases worldwide, every single person watching is going to form their own opinion on that. And that debate is going to be loud. Because when it comes to Michael Jackson, it always is. The legacy is too big, the love is too deep, and the stakes are too high for anyone to stay quiet. So the real question isn't whether Berlin was a success. It clearly was in many ways. The real question is, will the film itself do justice to the man, the myth, and the music? We'll find out very soon. And when we do, you already know we'll be here to break it all down for you.